Well, now that the headlights have been replaced on this 95 F-250, it's time to focus on some other issues I have with the truck that I've recently become aware of. And I was at a Christmas party not that long ago, and parked on the ground, and I got myself good and stuck. And I figured, well, no big deal. That's kind of why I drove the truck, because the person's house I went to is kind of known for having soft ground and easily getting people stuck. So I figured I'd go ahead and put it in four-wheel drive and get on out of there. And lo and behold, I couldn't do it. I was completely stuck, and I dug my way to China. And even with the fact that this thing's got the 10¼ inch Ford Sterling rear end in there, it's a limited slip differential, fully floating, that just means that I had two tires digging my way to China. I got out of the truck, and the whole back of the truck was covered in mud, and the tires were all covered in mud, and the front tires looked like brand new still. So I knew they weren't turning at all, and the guy that was helping me get out didn't see the front wheels turning at all. So, as is typical apparently of most of these automatic locking hubs, they seem to have failed on me at some point, so it's time to go ahead and replace them. I looked around. There's no way to really repair these things. Nobody, to my knowledge, makes automatic hub repair parts. So I'm just going to go ahead and convert these to manual. And in fact, you could get these trucks with manual hubs or automatic hubs, depending upon whatever your preference is. And I'm deciding to go with the mile marker locking hubs. These are the mile marker 449 model for the Dana 50 and Dana 60 IFS. And these are really nice hubs. They have a stainless steel, polished stainless steel outer surface and everything, no plastic or anything like that. Nice heavy-duty spring inside. And one of the main things I like about these hubs is the actual business end. This piece here is cast iron, not the aluminum kind. And the way these work is actually very simple. You've got the axle turning like this when you're in two-wheel drive mode, and then when you want to go to four-wheel drive mode, the fingers on the spring, when you turn the dial, kind of hard to do with one hand, but these fingers, the edge of the finger, grabs onto the center piece here and pushes that inward. And as you can see, when you push this in, it'll engage with this center piece here and turn the entire assembly. And of course this serrated assembly here matches up right against the hub and starts turning the tire. So very simple in design. This is actually a very heavy part. I like the fact that this piece here is cast iron. That should last me a long time. And it also looks like it's easy to service. You just pop out that snap ring here, take it apart, put some new grease in there. You can see the grease in there already since these are brand new. That's pretty much all the grease you want. You don't want to pack these too full of grease because you'll just sling out everywhere and cause problems. And they actually warn against that on the other package there, not to put too much grease in there. Same thing with the control mechanism here. You can just pop off that snap ring, take the thing apart, and lubricate inside of here to maintain good operation. I just like the way these things look. I think they're going to have basically maintain the same OEM look that I have here and look really good against the wheels once I'm done. So let me go ahead and jack this thing up in the air and get started. You're going to need some special tools working on these. You're going to need this large hex nut socket here for the automatic hubs to get those off. And then because I'm doing a manual hub conversion, I have to use the kit that they gave which has different locking nuts, which look a lot like the ones on the Dana 44. They're just a little bit bigger. And because of that, you have to use this different tool here that has these 4 tangs on it. Just a little bit larger in diameter, that's all. And it has these cutouts here to accommodate the locking pin that's on one of the nuts for your lock washer. So those are basically the special tools that I'll need. I don't think that anybody has ever repacked the wheel bearings in here, and while I'm going to do the hubs, I'm going to go ahead and check out the wheel bearings and see what kind of shape they're in. I'm pretty sure things are pretty dry. The truck has, at this point, over 150,000 miles on it, and it's just a good thing to do. And to do that, I've got these new wheel seals, because typically to get the inner wheel bearing out, you've got to basically destroy the seal to get that off of there, take out the seal, take out the bearing, clean everything up and repack it, and then drive in a new seal. So I have these things just in case I have to remove the seals to get the inner bearings out. Most of the time you do. But hopefully with the freshly packed wheel bearings and the new hubs, this thing will actually be a four-wheel drive truck again. And we got some pretty bad weather headed our way, a couple of cold fronts headed our way. We might get some snow. So I definitely want to restore four-wheel drive operation on this truck. So let me get her up in the air and we'll get at it. Okay, to get started, of course, you want to get the truck up in the air and up on safety stands. I like jacking it up right under the leaf spring perch right there, and then using a jack stand on the rear leaf spring mount directly below the bolt. And to get started, what you want to do is just use a T25 Torx bit to get your cap screws off. For some reason the automatic hubs only have 3 screws. I've already broken these loose with the socket wrench, so they're just easy to get off by hand. And the cap should come right off. And I'll just put the screws in the cap so I don't lose them. And turn the wheel a little bit. There's going to be a snap ring in there that you're going to have to get out. And that's just going to take the screwdriver with a little persuasion. So basically you want to find the edge of the snap ring, which appears to be right there, and then take a screwdriver, get on the edge of that, push it down and out. That's going to take 2 hands, but let me get that out of there and I'll be right back. Okay, now that the snap ring is out of there, just set that with the other pieces, and we're ready just to go ahead and take out the automatic hub. Just pulls right on out. And let's get here in the sunlight. That doesn't look too bad. I mean, I've seen worse as far as grease being dried up, but might have a little bit of water in there, judging by the moisture. That could just be oil from the grease, though. It's hard to find out until I get a better look at it. Well, it looks like aluminum on the body instead of cast iron. So now what we're going to have to do is take a pair of needle nose pliers and get the cam assembly out of here. That's what that looks like. And that basically is the automatic hub assembly right there. The next thing I'm going to have to do is get in there and work out this lock ring. And then on the automatic hubs you've got this large hex nut here that you're going to have to use this special tool to loosen up. Basically it's just a large socket. So let me get in there and clean some of that stuff up to make a better picture and get that lock ring out of there. Okay, there's what that lock ring looks like, kind of like a half moon shape, and that part goes into the key of the shaft. And before I use the tool to get the large nut out of there, I'm planning on repacking the inner and outer wheel bearings. And the rotor is pressed into the hub via the wheel studs, so the whole thing needs to come out of here. And to do that, I have to take off the brake caliper and brake caliper adapter. And because this rotor, like most rotors, has a ridge on the outside, that the caliper is not going to want to come off. So what I'm going to do is use this pry bar here and get right in between this knuckle here and the back of the caliper and just pry that way to push these pistons in. And then once I do that, I'll take off the top and bottom bolts for the caliper, and then these much larger top and bottom bolts for the brake caliper adapter. Okay, brake caliper is removed, just 2 bolts here, and just prop the caliper up on the leaf spring so you don't stress the brake line any. Same thing in the brake adapter, brake caliper adapter, the bolts are just bigger. Nothing too hard. You have to use a breaker bar in most cases because a lot of times they'll have Loctite on the threads from the factory. And now you'll be able to get this rotor assembly off of here. And once that little lock ring is out of there, this adjusting nut actually was loose. It's just hand tight because it's just holding just enough pressure on that outer wheel bearing to keep the adjustment. So it's not going to be tight. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish loosening that. And once I do, this hub and rotor assembly will come right off. I want to maintain some bottom pressure on here while you're loosening it to keep it from falling off on the ground. Now we should be free to take this thing out of here. You want to grab it toward the center of gravity if you can. Grab a couple of these lug nuts with your fingers. Kind of rock it and turn it back and forwards. And gently get it out of here. Let the wheel bearing fall in your clothes. And there's what it looks like. You don't want to do what I just did, but I'm going to clean up this wheel bearing, get all the grease off of it, repack them, as well as drive out this seal, check out this bearing, and repack it. Wow, it's situations like this that make me glad that I went ahead and decided to look at these wheel bearings and go ahead and repack them. As you can see, this outer seal, or grease seal, or some people call them wheel seals, have failed. There's the garter spring right there. just laying down against the bearing. That's supposed to be, and there's part of the rubber seal still attached to it. There's some other bits and pieces of it. It's just gone. So that's going to have to come out of there. I'm surprised with the seal looking like that, but I didn't have a big old mess on the spindle. I think I might have caught this just in time. Anyway, there are several ways to get this off. You can have a press and slide hammer type tool, but I've got this kind of tool, a little bit cheaper, but it does the job. This end goes into the seal like that. You hold it right here on the knurled edge and pound on that with a hammer, and it'll eventually come out. I'll try to show that on the video here if it doesn't take too long. You just kind of want to pound on it in all different kinds of directions. It takes a lot of persuasion to get it off. And there's what the old seal looks like. As you can tell with that tool, it does damage the seal, but usually 9 times out of 10 with these seals, to get them out of there you do have to damage them. And now we have our inner wheel bearing that can come out. And it doesn't look to be in too bad a shape. The grease is a little bit dry, but I've seen a lot worse. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and as well as clean the inside of this hub and the sealing surface, and start repacking this with grease. Okay, while the hub is out, you want to, after it's cleaned up and everything, you want to inspect the sealing surfaces in here, as well as the inner and outer bearing races. And these races look to be in great shape, so no problem there. You want to look for scoring and pitting and other signs of corrosion and everything. And you want to do the same thing for the outer race as well. That looks to be in great shape, which is really good, because driving these things out of here, you use the same tool, but it's a lot harder to do. They're pressed in there pretty tight. And then over here I got the bearings soaking in just regular kerosene, nothing too special. I'm going to go ahead and clean them up in there, get most of the grease off, blow it off with compressed air, and then I use some of the brake clean to get the rest of the kerosene residue off. And then I'll be ready to repack. They don't have to be extremely clean like a transmission or anything, but I want to get as much old grease out of there as I possibly can before I go in there with the new grease. Okay, there's what the freshly clean and packed wheel bearings look like. And I don't have a bearing packer, but you can basically cup your hand and fill your palm full of grease and just make sure the grease comes through the other side like that. Plus, it never hurts to have a little bit of extra lying around. And you want to use a high quality grease made for disc wheel brakes. I like the synthetic greases. And inside the hub is all nice and clean. And so now it's time to just go ahead and drop the bearing in there. Make sure it's seated. And now I'm going to go ahead and put the seal in. And I'm just going to go ahead and tap around the edges with the hammer real good, as well as take some grease and lubricate the sealing edge. And that way it should go in nice and smooth. Okay, the new wheel seal is in, and you want to make sure that it's even all the way around the entire circumference and not bent or anything. And as long as you're careful with the hammer and tap around the edges where it's stronger, you can get this in here pretty easily without any special tools or anything. Sorry for the shaky camera. It got real cold out here this afternoon. It's probably about 28 degrees or 30 degrees, somewhere around in there. And as I was cleaning the older bearing, or the inner wheel bearing, what's left of the seal was trapped in it and came out in the kerosene, so that seal was just totally shot. And unfortunately, when that happens, you run the risk of getting some water in the system. And that apparently is what happened in this case. I got the spindle all cleaned up, but you can see because of that failed seal, we got some corrosion starting to develop on the spindle there, as well as the sealing surface, unfortunately. It's pretty light, not too big of a deal, but I think I got to this just in the nick of time. You definitely want to repack your wheel bearings periodically every few years, as well as replace the seals to prevent this kind of thing from happening. So I'm going to go ahead and take some grease and put that around the mating surface for the seal, and go ahead and get that hub put back on here. Okay, this thing's coming along, which is good because I'm fixing to run out of daylight and it's getting pretty cold. I got the brake caliper on and caliper adapter put back on, as well as the tire. And I like putting the tire on after I adjust the wheel bearing just to see, give me more leverage to see if there's any play in here, and there's not. And basically how I do the wheel bearings, you can do them in different ways, but I like taking the torque wrench and tightening the inner lock nut while I move the rotor and hub assembly back and forth to about 50 foot-pounds. And then once I do that, I back all the way off that nut, and then I just tighten that nut just hand tight. And then I see if there's any free play on the hub assembly. If there's not, I go ahead and put the tire back on where I have more of a moment arm now, and I check for free play again. If I don't have any free play or any excessive free play, I call it a done deal and move on. The inner lock nut is a little bit different than the outer lock nut in that it has a pin somewhere along the circumference. So that nut has to go in first. So make sure you do that. Then you have this lock ring, and if you notice on the keyway here, the holes are offset. They're not exactly in the middle, and that's to allow you to turn this thing around and get this thing put in on the proper keyway, and then have that pin in one of these holes, wherever that pin ends up as you're adjusting the wheel bearing. So once you slide this in here, the next thing you'll do is you'll put this outer lock nut on here. And I like coating the outside surface here with a little bit of grease, just to get a nice good torque on it, make it easy to go in. That'll go in last, and you want to tighten that to about 160 to 200 foot-pounds. My torque wrench, unfortunately, only goes to about 150 foot-pounds. So that's basically all I'm going to be able to do with it. But you guys get a general idea of the procedure. And once the lock nut and everything is put in, I'll finally be able to get these new mile marker hubs put on. Okay, now that the wheel bearings are adjusted properly and the outer lock nut tightened down, and I like putting a little bit of grease on the splines. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit, just to make things easy to go in and prevent corrosion. Putting in the new mile marker manual hub is pretty straightforward. It just slides right in, just like that. When you turn the dial, this thing here, this outer piece, moves inward to engage the drive shaft to the outer hub area. And there's a little snap ring back behind there that prevents this from going in all the way. And hopefully there's going to be enough of a gap there to allow the snap ring to go in there to hold it in place. If there's not enough space there, that snap ring can be removed. The one I'm talking about is the one right there. It can be removed without doing any harm, so you can have enough clearance. So that's bottomed out right there. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get that snap ring, the outer snap ring in. Well, this turns out the snap ring did have to come off, which is not that big of a deal because the thrust washers and everything that are in there are being held in by the hub itself with the outer snap ring, so that's not going anywhere at all. So now that the only remaining part is to go ahead and put on the mechanism here, and you want to make sure that the mechanism is in the free position. That way you're not fighting against this spring. And you want to make sure that the outer edges of these fingers go to the inner edges of the mechanism inside there, kind of like that. And then once you do that, just put on your cap screws and you're done. So let me get that part of it done and we'll see how this thing works. Okay, everything's put back together finally and all cleaned up, and I think they look really good on this truck. They look a lot like the OEMs, and when I get these wheels polished up they'll look even better. And I think that, along with the new headlights put in recently, or actually yesterday, the truck is looking better and better. I tested it off the ground. One good way to test these is to go ahead and lock them, and then you can come under here like so and try to turn this drive shaft. It looks like I've got the open differential spinning the supposedly freewheel. So we'll engage the other hub. Be nice if I had a limited slip on the front of this thing, actually. We'll engage that. And we'll see if it engages, which it will. So it's engaged. And if I come in here and try to turn this one, I can't. That's typical of an open differential. If you block one wheel, the other one turns freely. A lot of reasons why people get stuck. But anyway, that is basically all there is to it. I'm going to go ahead and road test this thing, or actually off-road test this thing, and make sure I've got four-wheel drive. I hope this installation video helps you guys. It was made a little bit more challenging because of repacking the wheel bearings and redoing the seals and time consuming to clean everything up. But as you can clearly see by looking at the nasty other seal, it was definitely well worth it to get some really nice fresh synthetic grease in there. So I think this thing is in much better shape, and I will finally have a four-wheel drive once again.